Good morning, welcome to Headline Focus, here live on Core Politics with me, Rob Double. It is Thursday, the 27th of September 2018. Let's have a look at what's making the political news just after the Labour conference wrapped up yesterday with, of course, the leader's speech, Jeremy Corbyn, and he gave a big Brexit bargain for Theresa May, or rather an offer of Labour support, saying that Labour would back Theresa May's Brexit deal if, and this is the key if, she agrees to keep Britain inside the customs union, avoid a hard border in Northern Ireland and protect jobs, environmental rules and workers' rights. Now, this was his big piece, summing up what has been reportedly quite a successful conference speech, certainly not anywhere near the kind of disunity that we saw of years gone by with regards to the dynamics playing out in Labour Party conferences. He heads to Brussels today, Jeremy Corbyn, to meet with private talks with Michel Barnier. What he's trying to do here, and indeed the Labour Party in general, is to show themselves as a credible alternative to Theresa May on the biggest issue of the day, which is, of course, Brexit. Keen to portray himself as ready to govern in the event of a snap election, which, of course, if you were following conference at all, you know that the idea of a snap general election forcing Theresa May into letting the Labour Party try and take the reins and negotiate Brexit has been a really key narrative coming out of Labour Party conference. Not forget the whole idea of a people's vote, the second referendum. That is not on the cards for the Labour Party at the moment. The Labour Party's position is we are pushing for a general election in which Labour will be elected and Labour will get the chance to negotiate Brexit in a better way than, obviously, they argue Theresa May has been able to achieve. Why this is important, though? Well, in terms of Labour backing Theresa May, that would guarantee that the meaningful vote that's going to be put forward in Parliament on the Brexit deal that comes back from Brussels will pass. Theresa May would successfully be able to get the deal she brought back passed because Labour Party, by offering their support, would be able to outweigh any of the Eurosceptics within the Conservative Party or any of the rebels in the Conservative Party because, of course, having such a small working majority at the moment. The second thing, though, which is why it was unlikely, is what it would be is political suicide for Theresa May. If you think about the dynamics within her own party, the divisions between those who back Brexit and back to far firmer stance on Brexit than others, if she comes back saying we're going to stay in the customs union, or at least some form of a customs union, and we're going to align ourselves so closely with the EU that to some extent for those leavers in the Conservative Party, it will be just like staying in the EU and the worst thing of both worlds. She will undoubtedly trigger a leadership, either a massive crisis in confidence in her leadership as the Conservative head of the party, but also as Prime Minister as well. So expect a leadership crisis from there. So it's not going to happen, but at least for the Labour Party, it pinces Theresa May into a corner saying, well, this is an option you had, and it's either this or your Chequers deal or possibility of a no deal. Really interesting stuff. Of course, Conservative Party conference coming up next week, where a lot of this stuff will be, again, at the forefront. Let's just look at the Conservative Party then, the next story. Theresa May is reportedly losing support from a lot of cabinet colleagues, and obviously her key team in government, over the whole idea of the narrative she set, which is either you're going to go for Chequers deal, aka either you go for what I've pushed and offered Brussels, and if Brussels disagree with that, it's going to be a no deal. It's going to be a hard Brexit, and we're going to crash out with all the disruption that will cause. That narrative of it's my deal or nothing is worrying a lot of the cabinet members who, according to the reports today, think that this could accidentally mean that Britain crashes out without a deal, in an accidental position where the worst case scenario actually happens, or the worst case scenario many fear could happen. Ministers want her to accept instead basically her own internal backstop of a looser Canada-style deal in the event that the Chequers proposal is simply not agreed to by the EU and they don't do any budging on some of the red lines that they've currently got up. As a fallback option, it would be effectively. Now, this would be, if we just review what a Canada-style deal would be, it would be a free trade deal with the EU, removing all but not all, but most of the customs tariffs on goods sold between the UK and the EU. Obviously, some access as well for services, well, similar to what the Canada has just signed with the EU. The key thing here is the cabinet ministers that have been named by the Times today, two of whom are Brexit backers, and the other two are Remainers who have been quick to convert in reports from the past months to the Brexit case. So that's Brexit Secretary Dominic Raab, Foreign Secretary Jeremy Hunt, Home Secretary Sajid Javid, and Environment Secretary Michael Gove. Now that's key because that's the Brexit side of the cabinet who are pushing for a Canada-style deal over a no-deal scenario. Now, this is unlikely to happen because, in short, there are many Conservative colleagues who would not vote for a Canada-style arrangement, and one being former Home Secretary Amber Rudd, who was on Peston last night, and he said much the same, saying, I've talked to a number of colleagues, and I think conservatively there are about 40 of us who would not support a Canada-style deal. So that's just really emphasising the difficulty that Theresa May is in politically over the whole idea of no deal if Chequers doesn't get through. One more lighter story then, just one for the diary, is what Philip Hammond announced with Budget Day. It's going to be on October the 29th this year. It's after the next EU Council summit, but before this expected Brexit summit, emergency summit, which is going to happen around about the 20th of November. Now, he announced in a tweet that our balanced approach is getting debt falling while supporting our vital public services. Now, in the context of what's just happened at Labour Party conference, Jeremy Corbyn has offered some significant changes in his vision for the economy. A green jobs revolution was one of the key lines that came out. A future Labour government would create 400,000 new jobs, it claims, to support the building of more wind farms, solar panels on roofs and housing insulation schemes. Theme of this being big changes and big investment programmes into the British economy. Compare that with a lot of the narrative of the austerity, which has been obviously in the coalition government since 2010, but then all the way up to here, cutting the debt being a key message. Politically, that's been seen by a lot in the party as needing to change, to shift to away from an austerity narrative to more a specific investment in key parts of the economy narrative. The feeling that the public services do need more investment, particularly in things like the NHS, which of course the government have announced a big investment programme in. So that will be an important date for the government to show where the big investment programmes are going to be and where the vision for the economy is going forward. That's pretty much it for today. You're up to date. Don't forget you can find all the latest on what we're doing here on Core Politics on our Facebook page and Twitter right here. We'll be back again on Monday just before we head up to the Conservative Party conference up in Birmingham, where we'll no doubt bring you all the latest there as well. But from me and all the team here at Core London, have a fantastic weekend ahead. See you again on Monday.